Hey German, in this video we will be going over the wiring harness for the sequential setup, the wiring harness for the Ironman setup, and their functions. Before we move forward, we need you to download these two apps, the Ride Controller app and the Diode Dynamics app. We took screenshots of it off the Google Play Store because we know you have an Android. Download these first and then we'll come back to how they work later in the video. Now while the apps are downloading, we're going to go ahead and start showing you how each wiring harness is laid out. And we're going to start with the RGBW Ironman. Here's an overview of the RGBW Ironman harness. Right here in the very top, we have the Bluetooth controller. Bluetooth controller splits into 5 sections. These 5 sections are GST quick connects in the event we need to maintenance one of the drivers. The drivers are connected and labeled to the headlight harness. You'll be labeled as A1, B1, and C1 for the passenger side, and on the driver's side, they'll be listed as A2, B2, and C2. Passenger side of the drivers have extension harnesses to go across the crash bar for ease of installation. Now we're going to transition to the Ride Controller sequential wiring harness. This is a Ride Controller. It's wired up for power and ground. This controls the sequential functions for 1 and 2 and for the RGBW Ironman. There is a two-way splitter for the passenger side headlight and the driver side headlight. This harness is connected through GST Quick Connects for the voltage regulator and the sequential module. Originally we had the sequential module designed to be mounted internally, but we did a redesign since there's so much heat being generated inside the headlight that we decided to go ahead and pull it out, pot it, both sequential modules and voltage regulators to prevent it from getting any water damage or corrosion, and in the event we need to maintenance modules. So we're moving on to showing you the back of the headlight, that way you can see what's going on. The majority of all the wiring is on the passenger side headlight. You're going to see the 9006 connections for the low beam and the high beam for the relay harnesses, the volt connections for the HID ballast for the low beam and the high beam, and you're going to see this red wire that goes to the sequential module. This red wire is for the sequential turn signal, so whenever the turn signal is activated, it sends a signal to the modules, it then sends a signal back to the sequential ribbon to do the sequential turn. Next, you will see a braided wire coming out of the headlight. This is for sequential LED ribbon. They are labeled and they are GST connected. This one says sequential 1, this one says sequential 2, and then this one does not have a label. All these three go together in order for it to send signal from the sequential module to the LED ribbon. These tags are labeled and match on the opposite side, labeling themselves as sequential 3 and sequential 4. So connect those in that exact order for them to work in the proper sequence when the turn and the show mode is activated. Now, the HID system does need to be laid out first. Those schematics have been sent to you via email for you to review on how everything needs to be laid out. So do the HID install first before moving forward on installing the Ride Controller. The Ride Controller wiring harnesses for the power and ground. It has 2 wiring harnesses for power and ground. One of the wiring harnesses is for the sequential modules, and the second one is specifically for the Ride Controller. So it splits right here. It's already connected for you through GST. The one with the inline fuse is for the sequential modules. The one without it is for the Ride Controller. Now, there is enough wiring slack left over and measured to the Genesis specs. That way you can lay them out exactly where they need to go for both the passenger side, the driver's side, the Ride Controller, and the power and ground. Once all of the wiring has been laid out and the power is all connected, we're ready to mount the headlights and the fog lights. Once they're mounted, we're ready to pair the apps. Once the apps have been downloaded, we're going to start with pairing the Ride Controller first. Open up the Ride app. This is the screen you're going to see once you open it. In order for you to pair the Ride Controller, you have to press the top left icon. It's going to locate the Ride Controller for you. Once that's done, it's going to ask you to enter a 6-digit passcode that we sent to you via email. After you enter your passcode, you're going to be prompted to name the controller. Once you do that, this is going to be your main screen. You'll notice at the bottom there are 3 screens. We're going to focus on screen 3. We're focusing on screen 3 because yours is a 4-circuit channel controller. The other 2 are for different Ride controllers that have more channels. The Ride Controller app has already been pre-programmed for you. This one is sequential function 1. This is sequential function number 2. And this is the RGBW Ironman. You can turn them on and off by just pressing the icons. These icons are customizable. To do that, you press a gear in the top right, which will activate more gears on all 4 channels. We're going to press channel 1, and we're going to edit the name and the icon. There are multiple icons to pick from, and you can apply these to all 4 or all 3 channels that we use for your controller. Once you've created the circuit name and selected an icon, you'll notice other options that only apply to the Ride Controller Pro. That is an 18-channel controller. Since you have a 4, these do not apply. The one it does is a momentary switch. You activate that, press save, and the way it works is by pressing and holding down the icon. It momentarily activates a show feature. You release it, it shuts it off. This momentary setup applies to all 4 circuits. If you don't like it, you're able to disable it and it'll go back to its original way from factory where you just press it, it activates show 1, and then you press it again and it shuts it off. Now that we've gone over how to customize show features 1 and 2, we're going to show you how to control the Iron Man mod. To do that, you're going to activate the Iron Man mod by activating the switch here on the app. Once that's been activated, you're going to press out of the Ride Controller app and open the Dial Dynamics app. From here, you're going to see a line item that says Add Device. Press the line item and it's going to ask you to rename it and confirm. Once you've named the app, you can go ahead and enter the app by pressing the line item and you're going to get the color wheel. You're going to see a prompted message telling you how to work the app. We're going to disregard that since we're going to go over that with you through the video. That is the color wheel, and there's a crosshair on the bottom left pointed towards the purple. You move this crosshair around the wheel and it'll generate any color you want to create. If you move the crosshair towards the center where it says Dial Dynamics, that will activate the white for the RGBW. Now, we're going to show you how to preset the colors. At the bottom of the color wheel, there are 5 DIYs. If you press and hold a color after you select it, it will generate that color as a save. You can do a second one, we'll do red, and you hold it down again and it saves it. So now you have red and blue as your primary go-tos. You have 3 more options, and if you don't like those options you created, you're able to press and hold them again to save that color on that item. Below that, there's a brightness bar. This allows you to control the brightness of the RGBW Iron Man to make it very dim and very bright. Now, below the brightness bar, there are different functions and options available. There is pattern. Pattern allows you to create or play with different modes. There are 20 modes, and we're going to go over the first one, which is a 7-color fade. You have a red fade, green fade. It fades in multiple colors, which is red, blue, yellow, cyan, and purple. And then you get crossfades. Crossfades would be red and blue, green and blue. And below that, you'll see the 7-color strobe. The strobe's in all 7 colors, and you can get them to strobe individually for red, green, blue, yellow, cyan, purple, and in white. And the very last one for number 20 is a 7-color jump. This jumps all 7 colors. And same thing, you can control the speed. If you wanted to get slower, you can make it go slower. And if you want to speed it up, you can move the bar to the far right and it'll make it go faster. Below that is customs, and this allows you to create your own custom color palette. Right now it does red, green, and blue. You're able to get them to fade, you can get them to jump, and you get them to strobe. You can change those 4, add an additional 12, and you can save it. You can create another custom palette, whatever you want to create for any purpose, for a holiday, for a show, or for an event. You're going to get out of that and you're going to go to sync. Now, sync responds to the microphone on your phone. So if you notice as I'm talking, the RGBW Iron Man will start responding as I'm speaking, and if I stop speaking, it stops. Now, we're going to move on to camera. Now, camera is a nice little feature that whatever the color the app sees, will try to match the actual color itself. So for example, I'll go over here and get green, and I'll illuminate green. I'll go up here, I'll do pink, and I'll replicate pink. So it's a nice little feature for the actual camera, and it's all controllable through the app. Now we're going to go ahead and show you how to turn this off, and that's going back towards the Ride Controller app. Now that you're done using your RGBW Iron Man and your sequential show setup, we're going to go ahead and enter the controller in kill mode. The way to do that is the same way you activated them, by deselecting the icons to shut them off completely, and this enters them in kill mode. So you're going to deselect Iron Man and deselect show mode 2, and just like that, it goes into kill mode. And that concludes the wiring setup for the sequential RGBW Iron Man and the control of the app. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoy your build. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call and we'll walk you through any questions you have.